going on?
Kevin, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Listen, man, thank you for having me, Max. I really appreciate it, man.
No doubt. WSJU Radio, Mad Max Radio, St. John's University. Kevin Ross is here in the building tonight. How are you doing, Kevin?
Man, doing great, man. Can't complain too much.
No, you're working on some music? I see you're in the studio.
Yeah, always working for sure.
You're working on a new project, a new single?
Just new music, man. New music. Gotta keep it coming. More for 2020, more for 2021 too. So
yeah. So you started with Audacity before. This was after your album, of course. You had Audacity Volume 1. What made you want to make an Audacity Volume 2?
Honestly, because I had a whole album. And so what I wanted to do is I just wanted to break it up in parts. So that like I'm in a discovery phase. So like it takes a little minute for people to, catch on and really kind of like get into those vibes. So I really wanted to just kind of get it in dosages so that people can really like come on board. You know what I mean? And so I think it's proven to really work because Volume 2 was really like catching in a lot of people and taking them back to Volume 1. So hopefully with Audacity Complete, which is coming in the fall, it'll catch a whole nother wave of people as well.
How many songs do you think you're gonna have on Audacity Complete?
It was 7 on this, 7 on Volume 2, 6 on Volume 1, so that's 13, add 6 more, so maybe like 18, 19 records.
And these are all new, of course.
Yeah. So of course, like it'll be 6 to 7 new songs. You know what I mean? Like, I will say 3 will be live, and then an intro. That's like a song, and then like, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
We have to acknowledge that you're one of the best songwriters in the game right now, as far as R&B goes. What's your favorite song that you've wrote?
That's tough. It varies, man. It varies from day to day. Like, if I'm listening to something back and I'm like, when something feels like you had nothing to do with it and it's just all God, it's like those are the moments where you just like, okay, that lyric or that was beyond me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I think Long Summer Away, Thing Called Love, Don't Go was one of those records too. Like those are some of kind of like my records where I'm just like, all right, Cam, you said some slick stuff on there. You really, it really came together. So those are kind of the records that I'm like, I can say like, okay, yeah, this is dope.
Who are some of the songwriters that inspired you, not just R&B artists, but who do you think were some of the greatest songwriters in R&B history?
In R&B history, it has to be, let's take it back. Let's talk about Maurice White from Earth, Wind and Fire. Of course, Babyface.
Yeah, I was gonna bring him up.
Yeah. Joni Mitchell, even though she was folk, I think, she just had a huge palette, you know what I mean? Like as a songwriter, Joni, of course, Prince, the songs that Michael wrote were very like polarizing in the sense that like, he knew how to make a great song like over like a mid-tempo, which is like, it's not easy to do. You know what I mean? That Sticks. Rod Temperton is another one, who's responsible for a lot of Michael Jackson records and Heat Wave. Diane Warren is another one. Of course, Neo, John Tate Austin. I know I'm forgetting a couple people, but yeah, those are the ones that kind of like really stuck out. Patrice Rushen. But it's a whole bunch, man. It's just like killer.
Now, when I look at hip hop, I critique artists on their lyrics. I say that nowadays with hip hop, the artists aren't as lyrical as they used to be from the 90s. But R&B artists, it's totally different.
Yeah.
It depends all on the soul, which is why you're on my show here tonight. I'm not for the auto-tune. Oh, there you go.
Sorry about that. Sorry.
No, it's all right. Yeah, I'm not here for all the auto-tune music. So when I listen to your music, it brought me back to that 90s sound because I'm a huge 90s head. So I dive into the 90s hip hop and R&B.
Yeah.
You're a branch from that. But
yeah, man.
how come hip hop fans are so critical of hip hop lyrics, but they're not critical? Well, I'd say music critics as a whole, they're not as critical of R&B lyrics as we are hip hop.
I mean, honestly, with hip hop, I think it's just, you know, storytelling was always like a big thing for hip hop. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, cause melodies didn't get in the way of it. Like, you know, for R&B, if you have a great melody, you can get away with a lot. You know what I mean? You can say like a lot of crazy stuff, and people be like, "Oh, this feels good." Like, what did he say? You know what I'm saying? So like, I mean, a lot of stuff, even like Michael Jackson used to say, he was like, we still don't know half of the lyrics, but the melody was so strong. And hip hop really cut out the melody to say, okay, we're getting straight to these words. So I think that's what makes people so analytical, because you really zone in on the lyrics because there's nothing else that's getting in the way. And so I think now that hip hop is in the mainstream, it's in the spotlight, it's the biggest genre there is, and it's long overdue. Let's be very clear about that. I think that people are starting to come in now and they're not understanding the art of it. They're thinking that when they listen to it, it's just like, it's a vibe. But you know, after a while, like when you live with a song for so long, you start actually listening, you're like, oh, they really ain't saying nothing. Or it's like, oh, this is really compelling, or this is slick. That's why, you know, Nas and Jay and Kendrick and J. Cole and, you know what I mean, these guys are, you know, the creme de la creme, is because they knew how to make bops. They knew how to make songs that hit hard. But underneath it, when you start listening to them lyrics, it's like, oh, that's some slick stuff. That's clever.
Yeah.
When you got to start looking up, like I remember there's this one line that Pusha T says, and he's actually one of my favorites.
Oh, he's great. He's another lyrical artist.
Yeah. So he says, and I think it's if you know, you know. He's like, what does he say? He said, pulling up in that new toy, the wrist on that boy, rock star like Pink Floyd, aiming at you, boy. I'm waving at you, boy. Then he says, on the plug too, like True Boy. And I'm like, hold up, wait a minute. Now I gotta really go into my genius bag real quick to be like, yo, plug to, oh, he did, it's my history. He embodied it, right? So that's what, you know, cause you rocking with if you know, you know, regardless, cause his approach, his delivery, the aggression on it, like everything, it creates the chemistry for like a future masterpiece of a record. But then when you start hearing it, you like, yo, he's really saying some stuff on here. So I think that's one of the biggest differences for sure. Like, just that you gotta listen. You know what I mean? Or unless it just don't stick.
And this brings me to my next question now, just as with the bars in R&B, I mean, the bars in hip hop.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the sound of R&B? Is it authentic as it was back in the day? Because you're one of the artists that keeps it authentic.
Man, thank you. You know what? I mean, I've been saying this honestly for a minute now. I think R&B is in a great space. I think it's in a more authentic space in the past, like in the past 15 years. I think we're now just getting to a more authentic place because people are now starting to receive musicality. You know, that's why, you know, somebody like her can come in and be as musical and win Grammys, and for people to be like, oh, it's a vibe. That's as long as the beats hit and that music under it isn't overwhelming, you know, it's starting to become a lot more lush, musical. So I'm enjoying it, man. Like, I think that, yeah, the musicianship of people playing and the whole band and everybody now is just thinking budgets. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, who got the budget to bring this all in? But ultimately, I'm really proud of the genre and what they're able to do with the budget that we have. To say, okay, cool, we may not be able to afford a band, but we're gonna take each, you know, bring each person in. Let's bring in a guitar player. Let's bring in a keyboard player. You know, if we gotta add drums, you know, either we're gonna V-drum it, or we're gonna actually, you know, take a couple of little loops or whatever and fix it together. But it really helps to create this new age authenticity. You know what I mean? Like, it'll never be back to, of course, like the golden years and the golden age of R&B, but it's a line for us to evolve, to say, with the technology that we have, we're able to evolve the genre in a way like never before, and to crank out the music faster, but still yet possessing quality.
That's interesting. I never really looked at it from that approach. You know, it's right. We have to evolve at some point. Because I look at an artist like Chris Brown. As soon as Chris Brown came out, I feel like every R&B singer today sounds like Chris Brown. Do you feel like that sometimes when there's some new R&B singers that come out? They all sound like Chris Brown. But when I heard you, and there's a few other ones out there that don't sound like him, but it's rare to hear that someone that stands out and is different in this age, because everyone's trying to be like him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can't fault people for wanting to be one of the best. You know what I mean? Like within the generation where like Chris has been out for over 10 plus years. And so he's created this template and this format and this blueprint, and it works. It works for him. It works for him. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so anything under that, they're just trying to like catch the fruit that he didn't catch. You know what I mean? And so I think that's why the authenticity at a certain point in R&B, let's say the past 10 years, was inauthentic. And that's why we had to go underground. That's why, the spotlight kind of moved away from us, because it started to become a lot more cookie cutter. And the originality really got sucked from out of it, because it was like, all right, let's just make as much money as we possibly can. And then everybody's like, all right, y'all just keep saying the same stuff, we over it. All right, let's move on to something different, something new, something fresh. And it is what it is. And I just encourage any artist, find your own sound, even if you like Chris. I like Chris. I think, everybody, has a favorite Chris Brown song. But that doesn't mean that you try to mimic it. You know what I mean? Because there's only one. So you find the signature that makes you and keep it moving.
Something that would be interesting that I would like to hear you do, and I want to ask you about it. Would you make a song similar with, I don't know what it's exactly called, how they did it, Zapp and Roger, Computer Love? Would you ever make a song like that in this day and age?
Yeah. I mean, the vocoder, was definitely like influential in the way of like just melodies and aggression and all that stuff, man. I would definitely be into doing that. You know what I mean? I think that it's just got to be the right song. It got to be the right vibe. You know what I mean? I think that with the vocoder, you can't put it on everything. Yeah, no. It kind of takes away the magic of it when you just like, oh, I got a vocoder, let me just put it on everything.
Yeah, it's like auto-tune.
You got to know. You got to know that what you got is a smash. And if you ever hear a vocoder on my song, then you got to know that like, I think this is a smash.
It's got to be that one record. It's got to be, your Computer Love.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Why do you think no one else has used that sound? Is it because they don't want to touch what Zapp and Roger did?
I think that it's just I think it's honestly like, because Teddy Riley used it as well.
For Guy, yeah.
Like, Before I Let You Go, Blackstreet, like, he's all in the vocoder, right? So, there's people that have came after, Roger Troutman that did it. It's just the fact that you got to play at that level. Even the intro for 24 Karat Magic, you know what I mean? Shouts out to Mr. Talkbox as well. That's a whole vocoder thing. And it takes a level of musicianship where, like, that's why Mr. Talkbox is like, he's the sought after vocoder guy now as far as within the industry, because it's like, there's not a lot of people that understand the texture of it to say, okay, you got to play and you got to kind of like, you're not singing, you're talking, it's breathing, you got this tube and you got to, like people got to hear what you're saying. So that's a little difficult and it takes a level of expertise. So I know that if I do get a vocoder, it probably won't be me doing it for sure. I got to call my man, Mr. Talkbox, for sure.
I want to hear it. I want to hear it. I want to hear it in this day and age. I think it'd be interesting, and it would open up the minds for the youth because they don't know about Zapp and Roger. I think it would definitely open up their minds to it.
For sure. For sure.
I want to get into Nate Dogg. Do you view him as an R&B singer or a hip hop artist? Because they say G-Funk, but what category would that be under?
He was an R&B singer. He just had a heavy hip hop feel. You know what I mean? Like, he's one of the few that lived in both worlds, like easy, like effortlessly. You know what I'm saying? Like if you caught Nate Dogg on stage and he sing one of those baritone kind of songs, you'd be like, oh no, he can sing. But if he's on stage with your favorite hip hop artist, you'd be like, yo, that's Nate Dogg. That's, you know what I'm saying? Like he had the perfect chemistry, man. So shouts out to Nate Dogg, man. May he rest in power for sure. But yeah, him, I think Sleepy Brown is another one that kind of like teetered that line. Who else? CeeLo definitely teeters the line because he is a rapper and a singer, and there's no ambiguity in that. He's both. But yeah, I mean, you know, I think Nate Dogg was just one of those that just like, you know, he just really like lived in both worlds comfortably. Just like, what's up? Like we ain't, you know what I mean?
We're broadcasting from St. John's University, as you all know, if you're listening in to tune in and around campus right now. What were some of the most important things that you learned at your time during Berklee Music College?
Yeah, shout out to Berklee College of Music up in Boston, man. The biggest thing is like, man, build your own world. You know, while you in school, like really be able to like connect with people, take this time out. You ain't spending all that money just to sit in your dorm room and do nothing and watch TV,
play video games,
Netflix. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, how you create bonds and network, man, is really in college. So, you know, go to those functions, those parties, all that stuff, because you just never know who's going to be who and who you're going to need in the future as well, and who you actually might genuinely connect with. So I encourage that, man, just as far as like, you know, that's what I did when I was in college. I was everywhere. You know what I mean? Like every performance that I could be at, I was there. Any bar that I could go to, because I was a youngin'. I got to college when I was 16 or 17. Mm-hmm. And, you know, so I couldn't go to many places, but anywhere that I could go, I was in there. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things is like college is what you make it. That's what I learned from Berklee. It's a business first and foremost before it's a school. So they always want to make sure that business is handled. There's nothing personal about it. So with that, you know, you just gotta get what you want from out of it for sure.
Mm-hmm. You possess a musical gift for singing and songwriting. I'm going to say that you didn't start in college. You started way before this. Is that correct?
Yeah. I'm going to say I started singing maybe at like 12, 13, something like that, as far as like seriously. And then writing came later. Writing came at around like 16. So like by the time I got to college, I was, you know, it was still fresh. You know what I'm saying? It was still like, I was still very new to it. I didn't have too much structure. It was just, I knew that I could put words together. I knew I loved melody. And yeah, from there, I just really kind of like fine-tuned and made a lot of mistakes, made a lot of terrible songs, you know, but, you know, but it built
not anymore.
Endurance, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, not anymore. No more terrible songs.
Thank you, man.
Walk me through your Jamie Foxx placement. How were you able to land that?
So I was in Atlanta and I just got there. I just graduated from college. And so I was on this schedule where it was like 6 days a week. I'm in the studio 12 plus hours a day. I only know the grocery store, the gas station, and the studio. And so we get a call to say, yo, Jamie's looking for records. You know, this is the album after, blame it on the alcohol. So we like, let's go. You know what I'm saying? And so from there, we did a lot of like 90s inspired records. And then I had this idea and I was like, let's do like this little club ratchet kind of record. Let's just have fun. And so we submitted all of the songs and then we didn't hear nothing for like 9 months. And so I'm like, all right, well, you know, it is what it is. Let's just keep writing, keep working. And so one day, I remember it was a Saturday and I was in my pajamas. I was fixing myself some cereal because I was like, yo, I'm finna watch cartoons real quick before I actually get ready for my session. And I get a call and they're like, yo, how fast can you get to the airport? I'm like, today? It's like, yeah, like today. Like you need to fly to LA. Jamie wants to cut this record tonight. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. And I'm like, yeah, I can be ready. Like, I can be ready. I'm ready, right? So, lying, I ain't packed nothing. It's like, all right, Your car's gonna be here in an hour. You know what I'm saying? Like, you on the first flight out. So get on the flight. We go to LA. We drive all the way to Calabasas. We get to Jamie's house. And there's someone that, you know, like welcomes us at the door, take us through the house, and goes into like the pool house area, which is like, I mean, it's like anyone else's like normal house, his pool house.
So it's like two houses in one.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
So,
so we go through the pool house, and he got like this whole table like filled with Cheesecake Factory and like, and not just like certain selections. I'm talking about everything that's on the menu was there. Like, so he ordered, he was like, called Cheesecake Factory, was like, yo, give me everything. And it was there on the table. So we do that. And so we're like getting set up. So we're playing the record, just making sure that everything is there. And here comes Jamie bopping in, singing the record. Right? So I'm like, oh man, like I'm at this point, I'm like 20 years old. And I'm just like, I can't believe that I'm about to record Jamie Foxx. It hit me right then and there. Cause at that point it was kind of like, it was just a name, it was a word, it was just a figment. You know, it was like, yo, he's right here singing the song that we wrote. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And then, so he's like, hey man, love the song, da 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 da, right? Jump in the booth. He's like, listen, so I need for you to guide me on this. And I'm like, I got a vocal produce Jamie Foxx? Yo, right? But he was like, he's such a hard worker, you know what I mean? And how he internalizes, he has like this, like when he's internalizing something, his face goes like to stone. It's very interesting. I've never really seen anyone taking information like that. It's very serious. It's very like it's just crazy. And I was like, he's really absorbing everything, right? And I knew then, I was like, that's how he mimics. That's how he does it, because it's like literally everything. It's like Jamie ain't even there. It's just like a robot, just click, 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 and then he snaps out of it. And he got it from there. And I was like, he's a genius. So we cut it. And so like maybe like 2 days after, he's like, all right, we're going to play all the records. We're going to have all these people over, and we're going to see what work and what don't. And I was like, what? I was like, I thought we was already in.
Yeah.
And he played it for everybody, played all the records, everybody vibing. And then 2 weeks later, the record comes out. And that's pretty much the story in a nutshell. Like, it happened that fast. It took 9 months, but then once it really kicked off, it was like we were off to the races. 2 weeks later, album done, album's out.
Was that the most shocking studio experience with all the artists that you've worked with in the industry?
Nah, no.
Before we get into the most shocking one, people only think that Jamie Foxx did Blame It On Me.
Yeah.
He did Infatuation in 1994, I think.
Yeah.
He's had an R&B career since the 90s.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, he's a legend, man. Like, just, he's really a Renaissance man. You know what I mean? So no matter how you slice it, you know, he's touched each and every facet of the business, and he's been successful in all of those facets. And one thing I appreciated, like you said, he's had a record since the 90s. And even though people didn't catch on to it or whatever, it didn't stop him. He didn't second guess it. He knew when Ray came out that it was like, it's time for me to do an album. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it was fire. You know what I'm saying? So it worked out. So shout out to Jamie, man. That's, first placement. It's crazy.
And congrats on that. That was a huge stepping stone for your career. What was the most shocking studio experience as we get into this now?
Oh, man. I'd say probably 2. I'm going to say 2. All right. So the first one, I was working with Diane Warren. And so I'm in Atlanta. And so they like, yo, you're going in with Diane Warren next week. So I get to the airport, and like I'm walking through security, and I'm just looking at everybody, and I was like, everybody in this airport has a destination to go to today. And I was like, the surreal part about it is that I'm the only one that's going to see Diane Warren, right? I was like, the only person in the world. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like she's written smack like Aerosmith. You know what I mean? Don't want to miss a thing. Like, smashes. And I'm like, I'm going to see Diane Warren. So we pull up to her, not her house, not the studio, but a big ass building. Like a big ass, like it looked like it could just, like a company should like be there and live there. You know what I mean? But it's hers. It's all hers. Like 8 floors, just a huge corporation type of building, and it's her. And so I was like, okay, this is a whole nother level of success. So I'm thinking, Diane Warren with all these thoughtful songs that, she was going to be flowers and butterflies, and she ain't flowers and butterflies. She is completely opposite. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's a very, like, straight to the point. She shoot from the hip, very crass, very vulgar, very everything that you don't think that she would be, she's that. So we meet. She's very sarcastic, very witty. Like, she's just really cool to hang out with. Like, she would be like your favorite aunt to just vibe with.
Yeah.
So she takes me into this room and she's like, I got 3 songs that I got to play. And so she sits at the piano. I'm on a couch. And it's like all these papers around, all these papers on the table, on the floor, just everywhere, just with lyrics on it. And she's like, I got these 3 songs. And she's playing these songs. And I'm like, yo, Diane Warren is playing me and singing these records to me. And then she's just like, so which one you want? And I'm like, this isn't happening right now. So we picked one.
It was a tough choice.
Huh?
Was that a tough choice for you?
Listen, the first song that she played, I was going to take that. I was like, all right, cool. If you're going to give me one, whatever, I'm going to take it. But she gave me 3. She let me, like, vocal produce myself. And, she was there every step of the way. It was so crazy because she's a hustler. Like, she's a real, like, I know why she's so successful. Because she hustled for everything. Like, it wasn't like it was magical. She's like, here's the song. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Like, every big song that she had, like, the artist didn't want to cut it. So, like, Aerosmith didn't want to cut that record for, Armageddon. Toni Braxton didn't want to cut Break My Heart. Like, so everybody was saying no to the records. And, as history would write, that those would be their biggest records.
Yep.
But it was because she pushed. Like, I seen her in action. Like, she know everybody by name. Hey, what's going on? Like, have y'all, worked on the record? What's going on? Are y'all keeping the record? Da, 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 da. Like, yo, she gets it in, bro. Like, so shout out to Diane. That was crazy. And then working with David Foster is another crazy experience. We were working on a record, and then he played me something. He stunted on me for sure.
Yeah.
He was like, so, we're working with this artist, and we're doing a version of his song with the Philharmonics. I'm like, who the hell is this person that he's talking about this person? And so Philharmonic starts playing Overjoyed by Stevie. So Stevie comes in, he's singing, and so he's playing the record. I'm like, yo, that's beautiful. He's like, you know what the only problem is? He was like, there's no second verse. Like, in the sense of, like, Stevie didn't sing the second verse, and he was like, would you like to sing it? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So went in there, cut the vocal, and played it back, and I was just like, dang, this is the perfect time to be emotional. But I was like, nah, let me just savor this moment, because it was so crazy to hear my voice next to Stevie's voice with the Philharmonic Orchestra all behind it. And I was such a good person that I did not record it. I didn't record it with my phone. I don't have any evidence that it happened. And part of me is just like, you should have just hit the voice memo.
Yeah.
Right there in the studio console, so that everybody know what's up. Because we don't know when the hell this project is coming out. But it happened. And that's definitely another crazy experience as far as, like, studio wise.
The 2 crazy studio experiences. Were you in the studio during the recording process of Touchin' Lovin' by Trey Songz?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't there when he recorded it, but, I remember when we made that record. I remember that for sure. I remember it was like the beginning of April, and heard the beat, and I was like, this beat is a smash. I was like, all right, we got it. We in it. Wrote it, sent it off. Trey actually, because we were working with him so much, that I think he almost forgot about it. And so shout out to Mike Karen over at APG, reminded him to say, hey, you got this smash over here. You gonna cut this?
Yeah.
and with Trey, like Trey cuts records, like he's a beast at cutting records. You know what I'm saying? So like that experience, like watching him cut, like it's normal for me now because it's like he's such a pro at it. You know, the crazy part, I knew that it was gonna be something when it was like, and we added Nicki on it, and I was like, oh, and I came over. I was like, this is gonna be a single. I was like, they're not gonna pay, because you know Nicki at the time, I think she had did Trey a favor. It was like, yo, this the homie fee was $50K. The homie fee, you my dog, was $50,000, and that included her going on the coming on the record and then also doing the video. Homie prices. So I was like, all right, bet. I know that the label ain't spending $50K and not putting this record out. So now it's a platinum record, so we good.
Now for songwriting, that's where the money is, I've heard from other artists I've talked to. You get paid the most for songwriting.
You know what? I beg to differ, because since I'm a singer, songwriter, and producer, I think production is just the most lucrative. You know what I mean? Like, so if you can catch like Long Song Away, that's 100%. I wrote and produced that. So the money feels different when it's 100% coming into you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I only had like 7 to 10% of Touchin' Lovin' because of all of the interpolations. But that reeled in a lot. And so I can only imagine if I own 50% of the record, this would be a whole different conversation. Yeah. It would be completely, I don't know where I'd be living, somewhere on Pluto somewhere. Cause those kind of records, man, it's insane. But I would say production is number one, then writing, and then being a performer on the record, because then you got shows and all that stuff. You collect show money. But those residuals, if you catch a good record, man, and it goes to radio and it gets synced up and all that, like, out of here.
Question that I have for you is, why don't we get those hip hop R&B tracks like we used to?
Because the rappers sing now. They got melodies and stuff. They like, you know, they out here, they want to sing. They got vibrato. Some people are starting to do little licks, little weird stuff in there too. So, you know, instead of like them having to deal with certain, because I will say, and it's not just R&B artists, it's just artists in general. Certain artists are just kind of weird and, you know, weirdos. So you don't want to deal with too much of like, oh, well, I don't like the vibe and I don't like what you're talking about. So they like, man, whatever. Like, I'm a singer. You know what I'm saying? So like Drake really, for this generation, because we had people before, but he really opened up the door for rappers to feel comfortable singing on records. You know what I'm saying? And so it is what it is. So like that R&B and hip hop collaborations kind of cease. Not saying that it doesn't happen, but I know hip hop artists really look for those big R&B features where they like, all right, cool, we gotta have either the hottest person versus, you know, back in the day when you had, you know, Big Pun with his first record, you know what
Joe,
I mean? Still not a player. Joe wasn't necessarily like really known. You know what I'm saying? So that really put him in that hip hop forum to be like, okay, who this guy? Oh, he the guy that's saying what your man won't do. You know what I'm saying? So that was the cool thing about back then, where you would find, you know, Kelly Price on, you know, I'm Missing You, before her debut. He's singing all the backgrounds. You started to get to know these artists way before you knew who they were. And so now hip hop is like, nah, like I ain't taking no features unless it's goddamn Adele. You know what I'm saying? Or like Rihanna or something like that. Like they ain't like, nothing else will suffice, you know?
Yeah. My favorite hip hop R&B song, it's one of the top ones in my opinion, I think is Boyz II Men and LL Cool J, Hey Lover.
Ooh, that was crazy.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Yeah, I mean, listen, man. I think that the chemistry between hip hop and R&B is still magical. It's still potent. I just think right now, since hip hop isn't such a mainstream thing, that it's like they don't really need much of anything. So it's
Yeah.
like if you pull anybody, it's like they doing us a favor more so than anything.
Yeah.
So it's like they're like, nah, I can sing this. I can sing this and we'll be good. You know what I'm saying?
Audacity Volume 2 is available on all music platforms. What's your definition of Audacity, in which you titled these projects, Audacity?
Be bold, living your truth. My truth is that I walked away from my major label situation to start my independent company because I wanted to know what I was worth. The whole time that I was on the major label, I didn't even know how much I was really bringing in. I knew on the mechanical royalty side, but as it pertains to, synchronization fees and stuff like that, I didn't know. Like I couldn't put a price on Kevin Ross because I didn't know how much they were bringing in monthly on me, DSP wise or anything. So I wanted to change that. So I decided to be like, all right, ask for that. And that was audacious. That began my audacious journey to do things that really is, seems crazy. You know what I mean? Especially in today's climate where it's like, bro, you an R&B artist, you want a major label, Motown, like you had a #1 record with them in R&B, like you gonna leave? It's like, yeah, because it's just, when it don't make sense, it don't make sense. So for me, left that and then had to wait 2 years, which was audacious enough to not put out music and really create kind of a blueprint and a formula and create music. And so, yeah, like living in my truth and being bold about it. And so no matter what, nobody can take that away from me. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just what Audacity is. So when people hear Kevin Ross and they say Audacity, I want for them to connect that spirit of boldness, that spirit of truth, not just for me, but when people say it out of their mouths, that it catches within, the universe, that they understand that they have to be Audacity too. I mean, audacious too. So that's what it was really about, man. Is just having a mantra or a word that spoke power, not only to myself, but to others. Have the audacity to do the things that you want to do. Life is short. And, if you don't do it now, who said that you'll have the time to do it later?
That's right. And I applaud you for that, taking the chance and still making it big and just going independent. When you went independent, what were some of the struggles that you had to overcome and what you realized, oh, this is what the labels handled. Now I got to handle it.
Yo, so of course, like money was a big thing because starting off, you don't know how much it is to take a record to radio. You know what I mean? You don't know how much it is to really playlisting and establishing relationships with people over at DSPs and, gifts and all this kind of stuff. And let's be very clear when I say that. It's not payola. It's not anything like that. It is more so just showing your appreciation through fancy gifts to them to say, thank you for playlisting us. We really appreciate it as an incentive. So no cash under the table or anything like that. But, I think that was one of the biggest things that we had to kind of get over as a team was just understanding we're a small team. We're working with limited resources as it pertains to money. And then for me, also delegating, positions and power and how we should move. And so, that took a minute and I'm still learning, but that's one of the biggest things for sure, just how to handle that money that's allocated to you, where to put it, what's going to be most effective. If you're shooting a video that's $10,000 and you only get a million views on it, that's only worth, $1,250 or, $1,500. So, you're in the hole. for at least 8,500. You know what I mean? So like, you gotta really outweigh the pros and the cons to say, okay, when somebody says, we want another video from you, and it's like, you want another $10,000 video from me, and I'm 8,500 in the hole already. Nah, we're not gonna do a video for this until, you know, this song actually shows and proves that it can make money. And that's the biggest thing as far as within independent business is that, you know, when certain artists on majors be like, yo, man, we need to do a video. They crazy, X, Y, and Z. This is going to be a smash. I understand now that they're like, hold it. Wait to see what the DSPs, let's see what the people say first. We can get it to 250, 500K, 1 million and above. Then we can actually have a discussion to say, okay, so the video will increase the viewership and bring in more as far as listeners into it, which we can actually, you know, make in more as far as streaming, you know, kind of offset the cost of what it would be as far as, you know, YouTube and all that. So different things like that I've been learning for sure that the label handled, but now, you know, for me, it's, yeah.
But you got to nail down now. That's the important part.
Yeah.
What accomplishment throughout your career so far are you most proud of? Is it the peaking #1 on the Billboard charts? Is it someone that you wrote for? What's your number one accomplishment?
Number one accomplishment would definitely be starting my own label, honestly. Later this month, I think it's September 27th, I believe, that would be the first year of our Society Music Group, you know, having its first cycle. And so, yeah, it's no greater feeling than that. So
yeah, we got to give that a round of applause.
Thanks,
we got to give that a round of applause. 1 year.
Yeah.
1 year.
Yeah.
And many more coming.
Yes, sir.
I have 2 artists in mind that you remind me of when I listen to your music. It's Tevin Campbell and Ralph Tresvant.
Come on, yeah. Love Tevin Campbell. You know, he was kind of the barometer when I was younger, where it's like, all right, if I can sound close, I can sing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's when I knew that. And then Ralph had that voice. He had that little edge to him as well. So yeah, those are 2 people for sure. Like that's flattering. That's cool. Yeah.
Now, Ralph, in my opinion, I think he's the best from New Edition. Bobby Brown's always going to get the most acclaim and praise. Yeah. They'll call him the king of R&B, but in my mind, the best singer in the whole group was Ralph.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he definitely held it down. He held down the whole group, you know what I mean, and made sure that, you know, that New Edition had a sound. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's most important as well, is that, you know, when you think of New Edition, you think of Ralph Tresvant and his sound. I think that, you know, the solo thing, you know, people kind of, you know, it's like, oh, well, he kind of got the butt end of the stick. It's like, yeah, but, you know, when you think of the group, you think Ralph. So it's like, technically, he was the centerpiece. So when BBD hit it off, it was like, okay, it's the guys in the back moving to the front. You know what I mean? Bobby, he had a short stint with them. So, you know, he actually was able to live out his superstar dreams. You know what I mean? Biggest album of 1989. I did my research and I was like, geez Louise. Like, I think, yeah, it was 1989 because I think Bad was the biggest album of like the year prior. So like, you know, when people be like, yo, why Bobby Brown be tripping, man? Like, talk about this, and that. I'm like, bruh, he had the best album the year after Michael Jackson had it. So
that was Don't Be Cruel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you gotta like feel a certain type of way when you like, bro, like Mike could have had it for a whole nother year, but it was him. You know what I mean? So that's
I gotta get into a little sports talk with you real quick before I let you go. I cover sports on my show. Being from Washington, are you a Wizards fan for the NBA?
Nah, I ain't a Wizards fan. Nah.
Who's your NBA team?
You know what? I actually like I like the Hawks. You know what I'm saying? I like the Hawks. I actually like Minnesota for sure.
Timberwolves, yeah.
Yeah. Let me see who else. I like Portland. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Trailblazers.
Yeah, those are kind of my teams, and no diss to the Wizards. You know what I'm saying? Because every now and then we'll have like a squad. You know what I mean? It's just we gotta pull it together. I know that even on the football end, it's like we're not even the Redskins no more. Like we're the football team.
The
like,
Washington football.
like there's no way we're winning any championships with that. So,
were you a Redskins fan?
Yeah. I kind of got that from my father. He's like a diehard Redskins fan. So, in return, like it made me into a fan, and just having that underdog feeling. You know what I mean? Like I remember when they won the Super Bowl. I think in like '92 or '91 with Mark Rippon, and so I remember. Even if I was like a tot, like I was barely walking, but I remember the energy. And so I think that's what people hold on to the most. Like I think like the closest we got, I think was like, what was it? The NFC championship. What was that? That was the year, 2007, 2008 or something like that. So yeah, I don't think we winning anything over in football and basketball. But them Nats though.
Yeah. The Nationals, yeah.
Let's go.
Won the World Series.
Yeah, them Nats though. We in there.
Yep.
They done built the stadium, they done proved themselves. Now
They
you need
did.
for the other teams to get together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You need the other teams to get together.
Exactly.
Last question that I have for you here tonight, Kevin.
Yeah.
What is left in your career that you want to accomplish? You've already accomplished so much already. Billboard charts, songwriting, independent label is successful. Yeah. Writing for major artists, whether they're legends or current artists. What's left for you to accomplish?
Man. Honestly, I want to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, independent R&B artists, period. I got a long way to go, but most of the people that I look up to, even the OGs of the game, they're all signed to major labels. You know what I mean? So they got machines behind them. So I want to show the next generation that they can be successful in a major way without, doing any dealings. You know what I mean? Inside of the major companies. So that's really my mission. Like I really want a #1 record on my own as an independent artist. And I want to continue to, keep having consecutive #1s. I want to have, big theater tours as an independent artist and really, be held in that high regard with the Maxwells and the Kims and you know what I mean? Those guys, like my eyes are set on something different, like the trajectory. I feel like I'm one of those artists that like, you get your girl, you get your little wifey, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. When you want to feel grown and sexy, you know what I'm saying? And you want to spend some bread, you come and see me at the theater. You know what I'm saying? I want to live in those theaters of 3,000, 5,000 seaters, you know what I mean? And sit comfortably there and really just like, it ain't about being a star, it's about having a career, So for me, I've seen and heard crazy stories about stars having their plaques and awards being taken from them and repossessed by the IRS because they can't afford it, because they've always lived above their means to keep up this persona. And for me, I'm like, nah, I just want a great career. I just want to, you know what I mean? I want to bow out when I want to bow out, not allow for people to, call my number and be like, nah, you a rap. It's a rap for Kev. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I want to be the biggest R&B artist and biggest independent R&B artist, and have one of the biggest independent R&B companies, because we don't have that blueprint. We have it for hip hop, but we don't got it for R&B.
I think you will be able to accomplish anything throughout your career, and I'm not just saying that just to say it, because I think the most important trait that you have is determination.
Thank you, man.
I've had a lot of artists on my show, and I never see the trait of determination. You set out a goal for yourself, you're going to accomplish that. You already have.
Man, that means a lot.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to let everyone know who's tuned in right now?
Nah, for sure. Make sure that you follow me at Kevin Ross Music, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, you name it, I'm on it. Check out kevinrossmusic.com for merch and other information. But then also I got a new show called The Mashup Show that comes on Monday nights, 8 p.m. On Facebook Live, so check it out. We interviewed some great people. We had Amina Butterfly from Lovin Hip Hop this week. We had Avant last week. So we do the OGs. We do people that are current. So it's really fun and it's really dope. So make sure that y'all check that out. Facebook Live, Kevin Ross Music.
Tune into that. Kevin Ross, I want to thank you for coming on my show tonight. I had a great time. I'd love to have you back when you drop the future album, future project.
Yes, sir.
No doubt, Kevin. Take care and stay safe.
For sure. Yes, sir.